But again, you guys are asking yourself, part of this presentation is to teach you guys how you can creatively finance these deals with a little money out of your pocket. And so that's another way to do it. Most banks have a due on sale clause, guys.
We have the ability to assess value, to raise money, find good deals, and negotiate. The possibilities are limitless. What I did is part-time. I did 12 deals, all part-time, while still having a full-time job, driving from Haymarket, where I live, all the way to DC every single day.
Business, one of the things that people like to do, and we're totally okay with it, if you have another relationship with another hard money lender where they're giving you, instead of, let's say, 12 and 3 means 12% interest only and 3 points. If you're getting it at 10 and 2, I know a lender, I know Wish, I think Wish goes out at 8 and 2 in his self-directed IRA, 8% and 2 points. So if you already have another relationship with another hard money lender and you need to use me, that's fine. Because I understand that certain investors, they like to shop. They think shopping is the way to go. But if you really look at it from a long-term perspective, and you're borrowing money at 10% interest only, and you're borrowing money at 12% interest only, and it's only a 4-month money rental for 10 versus 12, that's negligible. But if the guy that's lending out at 12% is going to give you 95% of your deal, whereas the guy that's lending out at, let's say, 10% is only going to give you 85% of your deal, and you got to come up with 10% more cash, then you're going to go with the higher interest rate guy. But it doesn't matter as long as you can execute your fix and flip. Now, if that fix and flip turns in from 4 months into 9 months to a year, then it makes sense to shop it. It doesn't make sense but that's usually the case. Happens all the time. Typically, we do not invest in primary residences. I will do sometimes. We don't adhere to what's called the TRID laws. I don't have my NMLS ID, so I'm not a licensed loan officer. I am a private lender. It's all our money. But in the state of Virginia, in order to get around the TRID laws from a consumer's perspective, I have an attorney originate the loan, and then the attorney just simply signs it to us. I fund it. In Maryland, I'm part of a broker. I didn't talk about that. We're Green Dot Realty. We're brokered in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. It's funny, I don't have my broker's license, but I own 50% of a brokerage. So in the state of Maryland, as long as you sign a piece of paper that says that you're going to maybe use us to broker a deal for you in the next 2 years, your intent, then as a real estate broker in the state of Maryland, we can originate a loan as a real estate investor, as a real estate broker, law in the state of Maryland. So if you are an owner occupant, you need a loan desperately, then we can do it. DC is a no, because in DC we do not take personal guarantees. Okay? Typically, we do not sell loans. Most hard money lenders, it just depends on what their model is. So if you're talking to another hard money lender, ask them if they're a broker model or if they're a direct lender. That's one of the first things you need to ask. Because most of the hard money models out there are broker models. Ours is not. We've never sold a loan. Like I said, short term, it says 6 to 18 months. I would rather be under 12 months, just because the issue with 18 months is that, and we got caught up in DC with this, is that the market changes really, really fast. And so if I can lend into 6 months, I can predict the market within 6 months. But if I go more than 6 months, let's say I go out to a year, then the market could change. The market changed on us in DC. It changed on a lot of my competitors, and it hurt a bunch of them. And the reason is because of higher interest rates in DC. We had a lot of crime in DC. And so what happened is that some of the DC marketplaces are down 20%. And I know we're sitting in Northern Virginia, and you guys are looking at me and you're like, how can that be? Northern Virginia is hot. DC is not. I had a borrower, we had to take a house back. He thought he was going to sell it in Petworth. He did a phenomenal job on the renovation on Allison Street, 420 Allison Street, you can look it up. He thought he was going to get $1.25 million for it in Petworth. By the time he got that renovation done, by the time he got it on the market, he gave it back to us. I've got it on the market right now for $8.99. Happens, it's happening. So be careful, all right? That's why I don't really like to go 18 months. I don't really like to go a year, but I know in DC, these full gut renovations take some time. We have customized lending criteria. I change my underwriting every day. I'm the guy. I'm the tip of the sword. I make all the money decisions. That's the way it is. We can close in 24 hours, and of course, we're an asset-based loan, no credit, no income. All right? Now, what do you guys need to know, right? So remember, this is a two-way street. Yes, sir?
When you say asset-based loan, does that mean you're a non-recourse, considered non-recourse?
That's right. I'm non-recourse. That's right. I am non-recourse because I am, as I'm going to go through an example here, I am a lender that the asset has got to stand up on itself. So you, the borrower, though, you've got to stand up on yourself, which means you are now a project manager. You are now hiring a contractor. You are now managing this project on your fix and flip. So you need to execute, because for us, I don't think Harold's here, but we have a particular borrower that we've done 25 deals with him, 25 fix and flips over the past 3 years. So if we know that you can execute, we love you, because the quicker we get our money out there, the quicker it comes back. Believe it or not, where we make our yield is on the points. I mean, you guys are probably saying, oh, 12%, that's a high interest rate, but I make more of a yield on the points. And so I want that money out and back in 90 to 120 days. That's my ideal world. So that's how it works. What do you guys need to know? As you're going to see in an example here, you need to know the after repair value, right? So you're going to send me, I'll show it here in a second. You're going to send me an email with the after repair value. You're going to send me an email with the project budget. I'm going to want to see how prepared you are. You need to have a great contractor. I know we got a couple in the room. You guys can raise your hands for shout outs. And you also need to assure a profit margin. Now, as a lender though, when I vet the deal, I'm going to ensure that you have a profit margin. Because if you don't have a profit margin, I don't want to do the deal. I've turned down 2 deals in Washington, D.C. in the last hour. One was in 16th Street Heights, and the other one was in Brightwood. Guy thought something in 16th Street Heights was worth $1.4 million. It was a row home interior. He sent me a comp back in April 2023, 3 houses down for 1.35, and he thought it was worth 1.4. Well, I turned around and sent him some comps of current day market, last 120-day comps, 1.15 million. That's a big difference than 1.4. And so then I talked to him again later on. As he thanked me, he goes, you know what? He was going to buy it at $800,000. He was going to have a $300,000 renovation. He comes back to me and he says, you know what? I pulled out of that deal. Thank you very much. It's just part of what we do. So you're going to need to do that, okay? What do borrowers need to have? Well, we expect a lender's title insurance policy. It's part of the deal. Once we sign the initial term sheet, it is a normal mortgage, deed of trust, wherever you're at, and a promissory note. It's a normal loan real estate closing. Hazard liability insurance, and just as important, an LLC in good standing. I can't tell you how many times that we've done a loan to somebody who has a Virginia-based LLC, and it's a Maryland property. Well, they never filed their foreign entity form in Maryland, and so they're not even registered in Maryland. So then it comes back, LLC not found, and so we got to make sure. And then we've had other LLCs where they're not in good standing. But one of the things that we want people to do is, if you're going to borrow money from us on a fix and flip, if you use a single-use entity LLC, which is 1234 Main Street, that's fine too. But if you're using an LLC has a lot of properties in there, then we're going to vet that LLC out a little bit more. Underwriting criteria, the number one question that I ask you when you call me is, I'm going to say, what is my exit strategy? And I have to understand that going in. Are you going to fix and flip it? That's mostly the answer. Are you just going to flat out pay it off? We have second trusts out there for $75,000, $100,000. Sometimes these guys just pay it off. Are you going to buy and hold it? Are you going to do a DSCR loan? Then I care about your credit. So I have to understand what your end goal is with this particular property. Now, I understand that in the case in Washington, D.C., where some properties have dropped 20, 25%, you're going to have to change your strategy. We're going to have to have an option B, which says you're going to keep that as a rental. And that's happened to us on a few deals in Washington, D.C., where they've had to get us out with a DSCR loan, and they were going to fix and flip it. So that's happened to us. And you guys know the Burr method. I determine the ARV with you. Up to 75% of the after repair value is what we'll lend on. I didn't say 75% of your purchase price. We'll lend up to 75%. Most of my competitors are running between 65 and 70. So already you're seeing the differences between us and them. They'll go out at 70. Northern Virginia, I'm going out at 75%. And I tell you what, right now, if it's a fairly new property, let's say it's in Bristol, Virginia, and it was built in, I don't know, 2012, 2-car garage unit townhouse, needs hardly any work, I might go to 80%, 77.5%, because I know you're going to get that asset under control, put it right back on the market. So I'll be a little bit more, I'll go a little bit higher. Loan to cost is this thing called purchase price plus your renovation budget. That gives me a number. And so I'll lend into the loan to cost. So if I have a $300,000 house that you're buying that's worth $500,000, you have a $50,000 renovation budget, then my total exposure might be $350,000. So I might go to 100% of that. As long as $350,000 divided by 500 is less than 75%, then I'll go. Okay, I'll go there. Just depends. The loan, like I said, the loans have nothing to do with purchase price. LTC, like I said, purchase price plus renovation. And then the length of the loan. If it's in Northern Virginia, you're getting a 6-month loan if it's fix and flip, because you better execute. And I don't want you putting that thing on the MLS at too high of a price. You got to price it right. And that's another reason why we do that. Loan builder. Okay, can you guys see this okay? You can see it all right? My old man eyes? Yeah, it looks good. Not bad. All right. So let's talk about how we build a loan. And this is actually an actual address, 209 Oglethorpe Street in Washington, D.C. Every one of my examples is going to have a live address, because one of the things that I do when I'm talking to audiences is that I want you guys to know that we're doing live deals on live houses so that you guys can kind of follow it through. So what happened was, let me see if I have the letter. No, I didn't bring it all. That's okay. I left out a couple slides because I'm going to get gonged on the Gong Show. All right. First thing we do is this investor, the purchase price is $360,000. The renovation is about $60,000. It was a row home in Brightwood, Washington, D.C., and it was vacant and it was in pretty good shape. So it didn't need much work, because he had sent me a letter documenting the pictures. He sent me pictures. He sent me a renovation budget. He sent me his comps. His comps were $625 in this case. But then when I went and redid the comps, it was a lot less. It was about $575, because the comps that he showed me was what's called a semi-detached house. That means it's a duplex in Virginia, semi-detached in D.C. And so his comps were of a property that had higher square footage than what the subject really was. I think the subject was like 960 over 480. And the comps he was showing me was like 1,200 over 600, 1,800 square foot. So there was a difference. And so what I did is I comped it out at 575. We went back and forth and talked about it, because he sent me a 625 ARV. I explained to him where my number was 575, so we just wanted to get on the same page. Okay, then what happens is I've got this 575 in Washington, D.C. This case, I only chose to go at 70% of the ARV, not 75. Market's not as hot. So then I came up with a loan amount of $402,500. You all see that? Then what I did is I did my loan to cost. And I would have gone to 95% loan to cost on that guy. Well, the loan to cost was $360 and $60, $420. 95% of that was $399. So I felt comfortable by doing a loan of $400,000. So all he had to do is come up with $20,000 as a down payment. Closing costs were about $20,000. So he had total cash the deal of $400,000. Now, look at his deal spread. He's got a $155,000 deal spread. That's pretty good. And all he's doing is putting up $40,000 to maybe make $155,000. What I have to tell you about the deal spread is that the 155 includes a lot of things. It includes the buying costs, which is this, about 20 grand. So now you're down to 135. It includes the holding costs, which 4 months of payments to me, which is about $4,000 a month. So that's another 16. So that gets reduced. Plus he has property taxes, that kind of thing. And then he's got closing costs. He's got to pay a realtor to sell it. He's got some DC transfer taxes. So in all actuality, that 155 probably turned into about $90,000, right? After all the fees were done, right? Holding costs, buying costs, selling costs, right? Because you're going to ask me, well, isn't renovation a cost? Well, no, it's already built into the loan. I'm already lending on that, so that's not really a cost. Where it becomes a cost is if that $60,000 turned into 70 or 80, then that's a cost. But in this case, I don't even know if it was $60,000. I don't remember. And so that's exactly how we build a deal. You guys got that? So now the question is did I check credit? No. Did I check income? No. But more importantly for us, I wish I would have brought the pictures. That property was vacant because when he sent me the pictures, it was vacant. I won't lend on properties in Washington, D.C. if they're occupied. And you don't want me to do that. Okay, advantages of hard money, you can close in 24 hours or less. Leverage, you get your maximum leverage. Remember that particular deal, I lent out 95% loan to cost, including the renovation, not bad. Get approved on the phone with your hard money lender, it's usually me. Think of it as renting the money, right? Your job is to execute, keep my money out there as short as possible so you don't have to pay me those ridiculous rates. No prepayment penalty. That's the other question you guys got to ask your hard money lenders or anybody you're dealing with. Do you have a prepayment penalty? Most of them are going to say yes, because most of them are institutional hard money lenders, and they got to have their money out there for at least 6 months in each deal. So if you get out in 4 months, you're going to pay interest for 6 months. So you've got to understand that. Let's see here. Disadvantages, y'all know what they are. High interest rates, right? Points, that's the disadvantage. Shorter terms. Oh, and oh, by the way, extension fees. So if I go out at a 6-month loan and it's going to take you more than that to sell it, you're going to get hit with an extension fee, 3 months. We have an automatic 3-month extension fee built in. So those are some of the things that you need to be asking hard money lenders is about the extension fee, but hopefully we won't need it. And when I say we, the team, we won't need it. All right. Uh-oh. Any questions?
What kind of experience are you looking for?
Your ability to find a good deal, I don't care. And the reason is, it's not that I don't care, I care, is because since we have fixed and flipped so many houses, we know all the contractors in the area that we like. I mean, we know the finishes that you should be putting in. We know that a finish in a $400,000 house is going to be a lot different than a house in 16th Street Heights that's going to run for $1.2 million. We've been through we can help you out. And that's why we're here. We're here to consult. We're here to be part of the team. And so for us, that's just kind of the way we do it. So I don't, because the way we look at it, like Harold did 0 flips in his life when he came to us. He's up to 25 right now, because what we feel is our philosophy is this: you're only a new investor for your first deal. So if we can help you get the first deal or help you loan to that first deal, even though you might be paying a slightly higher interest rate, one of the things that we're building a trust relationship. So if you go to another hard money lender and they're lending you out at 11% and 2.5 points, when you know that you're getting 12 and 3 from me, you're not going there because of what we did for you and the opportunity we gave you. And that's how we built up this business. Most of my business is repeat. Anything else on hard money? And I'll quickly go through subject 2. All right. Who knows what subject 2 financing is? Who doesn't know what it is? Oh, that's about half the room. That's a lot. Don't worry. It's okay. We're going to help you out. That's good. I'm glad. That's why I ask these questions, because I need to know and understand, right? A lot of guys here are advanced investors. We're beginner investors. I was a beginning investor one day. Not anymore. Here's what it is. A purchaser investor takes title to the property, which means the deed goes in their name, and it's subject to the existing mortgage or mortgages. I'm going to say it again. You take title to the property subject to the existing mortgage or mortgages. I've done deals where we're the third trust position on 2 subject 2s. Now, I did not say assumption. Y'all know what a loan assumption is? I know you do. Most of you guys know. Who doesn't know what a loan assumption is? A loan assumption is where you assume somebody's loan, similar to a subject 2, but you have to get approval by the bank to get the loan. So you're going to have to get pre-qualified. If it's a VAA or FHA sponsored loan, you're going to have to get approved twice, by the servicer and by FHA or VA. If you're assuming a conventional loan, which I don't even know if that exists anymore, then you're going to have to get approved by the bank/servicer. That's the difference. This is not an assumption. There's a difference. You've got to understand this, though. There's no formal bank approval process. You're basically taking over the payments. The bank doesn't know about it. Most banks have a due on sale clause, guys. You got to know that. I haven't seen it happen very often, though, due on sale clause. I hear that they might be happening a little bit more recent because some of these community banks are undergoing capital raising problems because they're over leveraged in the office space community, Class B, Class C. So they're over leveraged, so they're trying to raise capital as much as they can, and they're trying to find these subject to deals where they can do a due on sale clause. There's ways around it. Purchaser incurs no liability to pay the loan. Because remember, the loan on a subject to is still in the owner's name. Got it? Limited power of attorney. Seller appoints the buyer to deal with the mortgage company, tenant, HOA, hazard insurance company. Okay, so you're going to need that. That's very important for you to remember that. All right, now what I'm going to do, I think, wrong way, is I'm going to cover some deals that we've done. But first, let's go through why. It reduces the cost to buy the house. You don't have to pay any new recording charges on the deed of trust. You don't have to, you don't have to pay any new title insurance. Lender's title insurance is still out there. You're just basically taking over the loan, so it's cheaper. Capture a lower interest rate in a higher interest rate environment. That's why they're so popular now. But really, what they don't tell you is that they're kind of hard to come by, right? They're hard to find. And I'm going to go through a slide where I'm going to teach you guys how to find it. I think I still got it part of this presentation. More room for profit cash flow is kept as a rental, right? Because a lot of times they're going to be much lower interest rates than you can get today, right? And I'll explain the timing of it. You're further into what's called the amortization schedule, right? So if it's a 30-year amortization schedule, you might be doing a subject to with 25 years left. So you're paying a little bit higher on the principal, okay? Method to purchase a property if you cannot qualify for a normal mortgage. So it's actually a great tool. And so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to put in your toolbox an investor-friendly title company who will do these kinds of deals, because not all title companies will do subject to transactions. Okay? All right, here's an example of one we just purchased last September. We purchased it September. You guys know it, right? You guys were there. You filmed it. We purchased it in September. We closed on it in December. It was like a 85-day hold. It was a condo, Taconic Circle, 16312 Taconic Circle. Again, I'm giving you addresses so you guys can look it up. 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, 1992, 1144 square feet. It was small. The owner purchased it with a VA loan March 16, 2008. The VA loan was $185,000. Okay? Interest rate 3 7/8. Come on, man. Sorry, guys. Interest rates 3 7/8. Payment was $872.48. Annual taxes $2802. Condo fee $265. It was vacant for at least a year. I see there's a typo there. Excuse me. Referral from a real estate agent. Current balance on the VA loan was approximately $168,000. Remember, it started at $185, but because we were in there for about, 24 minus 8, 16 years, he paid it down a little bit. And the purchase contract, he accepted it at $200,000. Okay? Then what happened was, I cashed the seller was $32,000, so we gave the seller $32,000. Our renovation costs were $15,000. We bought it September 22. After repair value was about $285,000. Now, this is where we could have kept it as a rental. I could have probably wholesaled it, made $20,000 assignment fee, or we could have kept it as a rental because the rents over there were about $2,200. Look at my payment. It would have been $872.48 plus taxes and insurance. So my payment would have been about $1,500, including condo fees. So we would have made almost $1,000 a month. But because of the seller and because he was a VA, he was a veteran, he didn't feel comfortable. He felt comfortable with doing the subject to if we were going to fix and flip it, but he did not feel comfortable with us keeping it as a rental because he wanted his VA eligibility back. So we did that, and that's why we flipped it. And that's basically, we sold it for $285 with $6,500 back. We made about $38,000. Flip date was December 15th, and we actually made 3 payments on his loan because he gave us his user ID and password to the bank, to the servicer, and that's how we made payments. No problem. Subject to, okay? Here's an example of a subject to that's a buy and hold. The investor's not here. I thought maybe she was coming. This is one of hers. It's in Ripplebrook Drive, Culpeper. I don't want to give you the exact address because I need to get her. She would have given me permission, but we were a hard money second on it. So the background, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1998 build. House was a pre-foreclosure and it was vacant. Out-of-town owner. We literally tracked him down to New Jersey. That's where we met him and had him sign the deed, right? The loan was in arrearages, $44,000. Original loan was a VHDA loan, $218,000. The current loan amount, this started in 2015. At that time, this was 11/8/2021. The loan balance was $192,500 once the $44,002 was brought current. That was the money owed to the substitute trustee who was doing the foreclosure sale, and then that got this thing back current, 192.5. Okay, that's kind of the background of the deal. We found it because it was a pre-foreclosure. It was getting ready to go to the courthouse steps to be auctioned off. Found the owner, tracked him down. Sad story, wife died. Just moved back to New Jersey to be closer to his family. Totally abandoned the house. So then what we did is we literally met at a Wells Fargo bank because that's where I had an account. And he signed off on the deed for $10,000. We didn't even go to a normal title company to do it. I did, and so what we did is I had the deed drawn up by a lawyer. Wells Fargo had notaries. Gave him a $10,000 cashier check. He signed off on the deed, got it notarized. Then I wired $44,002, subject to the existing financing, wired it to the substitute trustee, canceled the foreclosure sale. I'm on there as a second trust as Clear Sky Financial to this borrower, and the purchase price with everything included, $246,502, after repair value was $375,000. Good deal you would get, right, from an equity standpoint, but look at the cash flow. $1,365 PITI, $1,950 rent payment. They're collecting to this day $585 a month, subject to. By the way, my $44,002 actually was $54,002 because I had to put up 10. So my $54,002 has been paid back. It didn't get refinanced back. It got paid back because there's no chance that she was going to refinance a 3.75% loan, nor did I require her to. So that's how we got paid back. Took a minute, took a little bit longer, but that's okay. But that's an example of a subject to where we were the second trust on it. Okay. Now, that's a buy and hold. Now, I'm going to cover one last deal really quick. And this is one where we were in second position to another subject to, but it was a fix and flip. Okay. This guy was a property manager, right? That's how he gets a lot of his inventory, because a lot of times when tenants move out, owners have had these properties for 20 or 30 years. They don't want to put the renovation into it. They just want a quick sale. So he actually got 3 properties with this, but I'm only going to talk about one of them. And so what we did is we were a hard money second. Basically, it was in Dale City, 3218 Birchdale Square, end unit 2-level townhouse, 4 bedrooms, two full baths, 2 half baths, 1968 cookie cutter built. House was a rental for 20 plus years, out of town owner. The renovation was about $50,000. Original loan was $133,900. 30-year AM schedule. So at that point, they were about 10 years into the AM schedule. Current loan amount was $120,000. Okay? He bought it for $168,000. Gave the owner about $48,000. We popped on a $75,000 second trust on top of the $120,000. We covered $50,000 renovation, some of the money that he gave the owner. And the owner made $48,000 when he sold it for $293,000. So this was I think this was a 3-month flip. When did he buy it? I got the buy date in here. Yeah, 4/30/2020 approximately. And then he sold it 7/18, May, June, July. So this was about a 90-day fix and flip, subject to the first. I was on there as a second. But again, you guys are asking yourself, part of this presentation is to teach you guys how you can creatively finance these deals with a little money out of your pocket. And so that's another way to do it. And then the last thing I think I'm going to cover, advantages, interest rates, right? You can determine the existing note, no application documentation, no credit check, minimal down payment if any. I'm trying to rush. Further into the AM schedule, disadvantages. This is very important. The bank can recall the loan on an ownership change. Now, how does the bank find that out? Well, the servicer is servicing the loan for the investor. So obviously, if they get a check with a different address on it and a different person, then they can find out that way if they care. But if you're paying online and you just simply give somebody a new user ID and login, they might not know that way. So they're not going to do a title search about the deed because the loan's current. So as long as the loan is current, they don't care. However, the hardest part of this is that you're going to need to get the insurance in your name. You're going to need to get that liability insurance in your name. And so what has to happen is a mortgagee clause, because you don't want the insurance back in the old owner's name, because if the house catches fire, who's on the insurance? So you got to get insurance. So just be cognizant of that. And the other thing too is that the former owner is still on hook from the debt obligation. Now obviously you're buying into a pretty good equity position, you're making a loan current, but you've got to disclose because as licensed realtors, one of the things that we got to do is we got to disclose everything about the transaction. So you've got to disclose that to the owner. And so our owner on the VA flip that we did, the subject to, we disclosed everything. And we told him exactly what we were going to do. He didn't mind. That property had been vacant for a year. It had a flood. He had a life change. He got a new girlfriend in Maryland. That property was vacant for a year. He just didn't want it anymore. But the fact that we were going to fix and flip it and what we were going to do, we disclosed everything to him. And you know, that's how we always do things. I think it's just better to err on the side of caution. Now, this is probably the golden slide that you guys are looking forward to. How to find subject to deals. This is where you're going to learn something. If you don't already know this, yeah, take that picture. This is where you're going to learn. Pre-foreclosure ads. Sometimes we'll have the interest rate of the foreclosing instrument. Sometimes second trusts foreclose at the courthouse steps. So by you buying the second trust, you're just inherently subject to the first trust. Now, the government's trying to change that by saying if second trusts foreclose, they're going to make you pay off the first trust. That ain't going anywhere. Plus, they can't enforce that anyway. Out-of-town owners is a good way to do it. Realtor referrals. But here's the best thing that you guys want to do. You want to send out what's called subject to mailers. And you want to, in this case, I don't ever tell you should buy a list to buy investment properties, but in this case you should if you're focused on subject twos. What I would do is I would focus on lists where they're out-of-town owners and the mortgages were originated between March 2019 and March 2022, because usually they're under 4%. I'd focus on that. Mail it. Do it over and over again. Driving for dollars is a good way to do it. Search for vacant and blighteds, but you're going to have to do the title search on the original date of the loan. That's a good way to do it, right? It's just simply driving for dollars. But this is a good way at least to give you ideas on how to find subject to deals. Now, I've got some handouts over here that I guys want you to pick up when you leave. The number one handout that you guys should all grab is 100 ways to find deals. Make sure you get that before you leave, because we've got a lot of different ways to find deals, okay? DSCR loans. Who knows what it is? Raise your hand. Who doesn't? That's what I was expecting, about half the room. Okay. DSCR stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio Loan, okay? And basically what it is it's a loan for buy and hold investors, okay? And basically and this is a non-institutional game. You'll see a lot of insurance companies run their funds. State Farm has a big DSCR fund, Prudential, all the life insurance companies. They're the ones actually lending out on the DSCR loans. It's not really institutional players like Wells Fargo, Bank of America. It's more in the insurance space. Okay, the income of the property is the key qualifier. That's your rents, right? That's the key qualifier. Can be done on a single property or a portfolio of properties. These are usually LLC loans, right? I don't know, I guess you could do a DSCR loan into a personal name. I wouldn't do it. I'm sure you can, but we've never had that. 20 to 25% down payment if you're buying it originating a DSCR loan. What I would do, right, find that property at a good discount, use a hard money guy to fully lever it up, because you're buying into equity. Hopefully you're buying it at 65 to 70 cents on the dollar. Maybe you have a 10% renovation budget in there. Use a high equity guy, a high leverage guy like us who will finance 95%, 100%. Get it renovated, get a tenant in there, get it performing. A lot of times you just wait the 6 months and a day, get a new appraisal on the property, a stepped up appraisal, and they'll probably refinance and get you most of your money back, as long as you wait 6 months and a day. Now, if you don't wait 6 months and a day, you can go into a DSCR loan right away, but they're probably only going to give you a loan for what you paid for it. So just be careful with that. 3 to 6 month interest reserve. Currently it's a 660 credit score. I know DSCR lenders that will go lower to a 580, but that rate is going to be huge, and you might not want that. So usually it's 660 and above. You can pick your own amortization schedule, 30, 25, 20 year, 15 year, whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. You can have multiple loans. There's no maximum number of loans. Whereas if you get a mortgage, let's say a normal mortgage, I think you're only allowed 10 loans and 6 with the same bank. Is that still the rule? 10 and 6? Something. And so that's basically what it is. This is basically how they compute this thing called a debt service coverage ratio. It's a ratio, it's a fraction, right? So what they do on the top part of that fraction is they take the property rents. Now you can do a DSCR loan on commercial properties. I know this because I got a few DSCR loans on commercial properties. It's the same kind of thing. The difference is on a single family house, it's just the property rent. On a commercial property, it's all the rents combined. So whatever your cash flow is, that's what it is. It's divided by this thing called principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And I got this thing called A. That's association dues. HOA, condo fees, whatever that might be. So they take that, that's your bottom. So for example, if my rental is $2,500 a month, my PITI, including association dues, is $2,000, then my DSCR is 1.25. Now, the higher the DSCR goes, the lower the interest rates are on the loan. I've seen lenders go as low as 0.8, so you could be negative a little bit. 0.81. So I've seen them go as low as 0.8. I haven't seen any lower than that. But again, the 0.8 is going to drive that interest rate higher, so you're going to pay a little higher interest rate. Y'all got that? Make sense? Flexibility, I'm almost done. Flexibility, advantages. Flexibility, right? You could do it into multiple properties. No 10 loan limit. Not sure if that's still a rule, but that's in here. It used to be you could get 10 mortgages, 6 with the same bank, 6 and 10. Flexible AM schedule. Interest rates, it's going to be better than your hard money lender. It's going to be higher than your normal mortgage, but it's going to be lower than a hard money lender, which is why you're refinancing us out. I mean, you use me to 95 to 100%, get a tenant in there, get it performing, take me out. Hopefully, if you wait 6 months in a day, get a nice stepped up appraisal, you'll be able to maybe get some cash out too. So not only did you not come up with much money, but you also, getting some cash out. It's not bad. Disadvantages too, I also have interest rates, because remember, now that the interest rates are higher because of all the Fed funds raising the rates, the DSCR numbers are higher than they were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they were running about 4.5%, 4%. Now they're running about, I saw one 6.75 up to about 7.5%. So they're higher now. So that's an advantage, that's a disadvantage. But then also too, a disadvantage is they have a credit score requirement. That's why I care about your credit if you're going to do a DSCR. Okay? So this is it. What do we cover? I'm pretty much done. Hard money, we covered subject to the existing mortgage. We covered DSCR loans. And so basically, if you don't take anything out of here, use a combo of these sources to fund your deals. Now, we could have talked about owner-held financing, which is another good way to do it. The problem with owner-held financing is they're far and few between. They're not as prevalent. But that's a good idea, too. You could do that, too. So just keep that in mind. You can use a combo of sources to fund all your investment deals, provided you buy right. And that's basically it. That's
all right,
it.
guys, give a round of applause, all right?
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, sir. Great stuff, great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, guys. Was that a wealth of knowledge, guys? Too much. Yes, no, maybe?
Too much.
Good stuff, guys. Well, I'll tell you guys, Charlie knows his stuff. As you can see, he knows his stuff, okay? Throw him any questions, he'll know real estate like the back of his palm, okay? So with that, guys, let me go ahead and continue on real quick, and then we'll close out, okay? I want to close with a couple of examples, real-life examples that we personally done, and these are examples that we did before we met Charlie, okay? So I'm going to give you guys a little hindsight on what the value of what Charlie's providing. First of all, guys, the skills that you want to be successful in investing in real estate is your ability to assess value. What will it be worth after the value add has been completed? And the value add could be changing the kitchen, changing the bathroom, improving operating costs if it's a rental, and so forth, right? Your ability to assess value. Your ability to raise capital, all right? Your ability to raise capital is important because most lenders won't loan 100%. I know Charlie will if the deal is good. If the deal is good, he will, all right? But if the deal is not good and you want to take a little risk for a higher return, you gotta have the ability to raise capital to fund that gap, okay? You gotta have the ability to negotiate. If the deal is not good, why do it? All right? You're in business and you have an obligation to your LLC to make it profitable. Would you all agree? Every time I negotiate with a seller, I say, well, Jan, I got this to do, I got this to pay, I got this debt, I have this judgment, and I want to be able to have X dollars at the end of the day in proceeds. It's like, well, I understand that, right? But I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I'm usually very charitable, right? I want to help people out. That's where my heart is, charitable, right? But in order for me to be charitable, I must first become profitable. Would you agree? I can't be charitable without being profitable. And once they said that, I said, okay, well, that makes sense, because I'm not going to do this if I'm not going to make any money. Why should I? Does that make sense, guys? If they're looking for a charity, they got to go down to a church or Red Cross or something down the street for some help, because that's not us. We are a private business that's in it for the profit, all right? If you say that, most people understand. They don't get it, you got to leave them, okay? It's not going to work out. But keep them in your pocketbook and nurture them. Down the road, reality will sink in, because right now they're just in denial, right? Build win-win relationships, all right? Charlie hit on this. We're in this together. If you don't win, I don't win. If Charlie doesn't win, you don't win. If you don't win, he doesn't win. It's a win-win relationship, so we don't want to create win-lose relationships. Now, I've done this long enough to where I have made mistakes and done deals with wrong people. It was a win-lose relationship where they were all in it for them and they were not looking out for me. Guess what happens to those relationships? Bye-bye. They missed out on hundreds of deals in the future because of that attitude, okay? So you're going to be in this for the long haul. Think visionary, long-term, what's in it for you years from now, not just this one deal. One deal is one time, but you build a relationship that's volume deals for a lifetime. Does that make sense? All right? And then your integrity. Your integrity is basically doing the right thing even though people are not looking. All right? It's doing the right thing. All right? Honesty, doing the right thing, okay? And then generosity. I already touched on that a little bit earlier. So we'll go through a couple of deals here. This one's in Southeast DC. All right, so Charlie hit on that a little bit of DC, but this is Southeast. It's a probate property we bought. For those who are familiar, probate takes about 2 to 3 years in DC. And it's vacant for 2 or 3 years while the probate process is in progress in the court system. And in the 2 to 3 years, guess what happens? The house gets broken in. There are squatters. People leave stuff behind. As you can see, this house was vacant before, but across 3 years, there's just random stuff in there. I had to find a way to navigate through the house, all right? You have 3 lawnmowers and 3 weed whackers. I don't know why. There was no grass at the house, by the way, all right? It was just a driveway and some dirt in the back. But there's a lot of junk back here, okay? And this is very typical of a probate property. So here's the HUD of it, all right? So here's the thing. The renovation cost $80,000. The construction draws from our lender was also $80,000. Our cash due at closing was $65,000, and we estimated about 6 months of holding costs, which is roughly $15,000, which includes interest payments, real estate insurance, real estate taxes, HOA fees, and so forth, okay? So the total funding required was $80,000. My question to you is, if your hard money lender is funding the majority of it, where should this $80,000 come from? Any guess? Well, you already got the hard money loan, right? You need an extra $80,000 to get the deal done. They may not fund you 100%. Remember, in DC, they may not take that risk. So you got to raise that money, right? Where should this come from? Any guess? Friends. Yes, friends who want a good return. Private investors, right? That's one way to do it, okay? So here's the example, all right? So here's the house that was after it was done. All right, took out the tree that was in front, we painted the brick, replaced the windows, changed the flat roof, did the whole kitchen and everything, okay? It sold for $350,000. Now, we bought this house for $145,000. You guys remember the original price, okay? And there was a subsidy of $10,000, so we netted $340,000, around $340,000, all right? So cash at closing after it was all done was $145,000 into our bank account. Guess what? We had an $80,000 loan to a private investor. We paid that private investor 10%. They were very happy with 10% because back then they were getting 0.5% in their savings account. So they were happy with the 10%. They made $4,000 across 6 months secured with that real estate. All right, so they're happy. So we paid back $80,000 plus the 4, so that's 84, and whatever was left was $61,000. That was a profit. All right. Now, what is the percent ROI on this profit for this deal for us? Was it 5%? 10%? What's that magic word? Infinity. Infinite. All right. If you can do this and get infinite return, how many can you do? As many as you want. Doesn't matter how much money you got in the bank. All right. Now take a look at this number. It took 6 months to do, right? Take the number 61,000 divided by 6. That's $10,000 a month, and you can do this part time if you have a good contractor. If you don't have a good contractor, it will be a full-time job. Right? Okay. All right. So we actually, how many can you do simultaneous? Then what are the limits? this number's limitless. If you have the ability to assess value, to raise money, find good deals, and negotiate, the possibilities are limitless. What I did is part-time. I did 12 deals, all part-time, while still having a full-time job, driving from Haymarket, where I live, all the way to DC every single day. But during part-time hours, we're still able to do 12 deals, many times 3 or 4 simultaneously, while I still have a full-time job, because we had a good team, good contractor, and good leverage on the actual financials, okay?